What's up, military and veterans? The time has come for you to destroy your financial freedom goals, and luckily, there's an event coming up just for you.
The Veterans for Financial Freedom organization is hosting a seminar in San Diego, California this February on financial literacy, entrepreneurship, real estate investing, and some of our Agent Goldmine guests are rocking the stage as speakers.
Get your ticket at veteransforfinancialfreedom.org/Agent Goldmine and take action towards your goals today. Now, enjoy the show.
With his maintaining consistency and discipline in his lead pillars, he was able to build such a big digital presence. He is the #1 agent attractor in the entire EXP brokerage without ever having to reach out to a single agent. This is the Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it. All tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of The Agent Goldmine, where Shelby and I today are interviewing Mike Sherrard. And in case you do not know who Mike is, he is the #1 agent attractor in the entire EXP brokerage without ever having to reach out to a single agent. He's an agent who started off door knocking in the middle of winter in Calgary, Canada, until his hands froze and started getting $1 million listings that way. The proof is in the pudding because with his maintaining consistency and discipline in his lead pillars, he was able to build such a big digital presence. And that's on all social media. Specifically, though, on YouTube is his, I would say, meat and potatoes, but we'll dig into that. Mike has close to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube because of the value that he gives out. And it's not just about the vanity metrics, because just one of his videos has led to 252 agents joining and partnering with him in EXP. And an amazing fun fact is that in the last year, he has not taken any frontline agents. He has given over 450 agents to those agents who have already partnered with him in his revenue share. Therefore, he's highlighting everyone in his crew that might not be an exact replica of him, different diversities, different skill sets. So, and I love that so much. That's exactly what I'm doing too. But also, you're doing this because, or rather, your success has been because of posting videos every single week without having a 6-month time frame, a 1-year time frame. You're thinking of this as a 10-year play. So that's how you've been able to create the Agent Wolf Pack. And that's how you've been able to take your parents back to Hawaii, a place that they never thought that they would be able to go back to, and retire them. So, Mike, it's a pleasure to talk to you again. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. What an introduction. I'm super excited and it sounds crazy to hear it, but yeah, it's been a pretty wild journey and I'm just excited to have the opportunity to jam out with you guys and, bring as much value as humanly possible.
Dude, for sure. And we are so stoked. And okay, Mike, normally we ask this at the end. We wrap up and we're like, okay, looking ahead, what do you see within your future? What is the big picture? What are the goals you're working on? But we kind of wanted to hit that right up front. So could you take us through what you're working on now and kind of what the future holds?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the big project right now is the Mastermind Community Atlas Alliance that I launched. EXP is a life-changing brokerage, but one of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years is that you've got people in these different groups that want value from other groups, and there was no real way to really share that, and it was almost like there was all these exclusive opportunities where you join me, you get this, you join them, you get that. There was no inclusive opportunity to say you join this community and you get it all. And so that's been my big kind of passion project is being able to create this safe space, this ecosystem where it doesn't matter brokerage, downline, any of that. How can you get the best value, not predicated on where you're located, but predicated on the people delivering it? So that's kind of my play right now is just helping out as many people as humanly possible and making sure that as we go through these difficult times that people truly do have everything that they need to be armed and ready to capitalize and thrive while most struggle to survive.
And I don't know much about that, what you're working on. What was the name of it again? And can you give us a little bit more on how it works?
Definitely. So it's called Atlas Alliance. And essentially, what it is, we understand that so many people, especially in the real estate industry, get caught up in the next tip, the next trick, the next tutorial. But the truth is that's not actually what will get you to where you want to be. And also, your income, which is what most people focus on, is one of many components of how to build a successful life, not just a successful business. So, with Atlas Alliance, it's open to any brokerage, any downline. It's based on three kind of sections, if you will, four different pillars. So the three different sections are mindset, acquisition, fulfillment, a bit of a double entendre because mindset is where we start. It's where people, it's the only reason why an agent would fail is mindset. It's not because they don't know what they need to do, it's because their mindset. The second phase is acquisition. So acquiring clients and acquiring what you want out of life. And then the third is fulfillment, which is fulfilling clients, repeat, nurture, all of that, but finding fulfillment. And all of that is kind of wrapped into family, finance, fitness, fulfillment. So the four core pillars that we operate on, because, we see even at EXP, there's people making, ridiculous amounts of money, but their relationships are in shambles, or they're obese, or they're not really happy, even though they've got the money. And I think it's really important to be able to give people that guiding light of how can you actually find true happiness and build the life you've always wanted, not limiting yourself to this standard traditional way of thinking of there's only one way to do it.
That makes so much sense. All the family, finance, fitness, fulfillment. And so my question for that is, this seems to be something that people go to after they've had like their first wave of success. In the beginning, they're so focused on like money with the back against the wall and I have to survive. And so, how long, I guess, have you been working on it? Do you agree with that? And how long have you been working on this piece? And do you see it like expanding well into your future?
Yeah, definitely. So the craziest part is over 50% of the people in the community are brand new. Like some are even still getting their license. And
Wow.
so it's a roadmap, right? And a community of, and I think this is the important aspect of it is that I find in real estate, people have completely messed up the term mastermind. And what I mean by that is they say mastermind, but it's one mind lecturing or teaching. It's not pooling the masterminds together in order to give value. So this is truly that the power is in the community, but we've got a ton of new agents that are looking, in my first year, how can I make sure I do things properly? Because in the first year they are money driven, but they're so money driven that they skip over the foundational aspect where you can't build a skyscraper on a cracked foundation, and most of them screw it all up from day one, right? So this is something where we've hundreds video testimonials of agents saying this is life changing, and that's really what we want to do is give back and transparently. You guys will be the first to know this. I don't know when this is going to go live, but we're about to announce. It's me and my business partner Louie. We're about to announce two new coaches that are partnering with us on it. One is in a different downline at EXP to prove that you could be in different groups and collaborate. One of them is one of the top people at the number one competitor of EXP, completely different brokerage, to show it doesn't matter which brokerage you're from. So it's really this inclusive environment of saying, I don't care where you're from or where you're at in your business. There's levels to this. We'll meet you where you're at and let's give you that roadmap to thrive.
Oh, so many questions. Oh, I love this though. So how do you get new agents? Because you said there's a bunch of brand new agents who are joining, this Atlas Alliance. But and I completely agree with what you said about the definition of mastermind, how usually it's not a mastermind at all. But how do you get newer agents to participate and provide, feedback and engagement and along the way if they don't have any experience? Basically, like how are you able to take all these people at different levels and make it so they're not just another one in a pool, and how they feel connected and engaged and like they're touched within this bigger community?
Yeah, definitely. The truth of that is something that most people don't think about is everybody is a new agent in some way, shape, or form. And I'll unpack that for a second. If you're a brand new agent, or maybe you're in your first year, you did $50,000. Well, you're a new agent relative to going from 250 to $500,000. all of the same principles apply to somebody that's making $500,000 that wants to go a million. They're a new agent at $500,000 trying to get to a million. They all have to follow the same processes and steps. There's just levels to it and layers deeper that they need to go. So success really isn't complicated. People are bonding around just wanting to build fulfillment and success in their lives, regardless of where they're from. So sure, some of the new agents might not vocally share, here's what I'm doing, but they can consume that and be a part of the community and share their wins. We're having new agents share, wow, I just finally put out my first YouTube video. It got 40 views and I got my first client from it. That was a post literally yesterday from a brand new agent. We have experienced agents with 20 years in this industry saying, I also just put out my first video and it's starting to so people are always able to relate to each other in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes the new agents come and have incredible success previously with content, or they've got a perspective based on life or balancing their kids or their spouse that somebody experienced doesn't have. So the whole goal is to be able to bring people together and say none of that really matters, because those all of the different pillars that we spoke about, once you get to from 50 to $250,000, you have to reset and do it all again, just slightly differently to get to 500 and again to get to a million. So it's always a sliding scale. It just depends on where you're at in your life.
Okay, Mike, this is my last question because I feel like I could geek out on this for a long time, but I know Allie's like chomping at the bit for for some more questions. This is my last one. So, if you guys are you virtual? I assume it's a virtual
Yeah.
since it's nationwide. Yeah, um,
Well,
or
until next
worldwide.
year.
This is so exciting. Me a little teaser. But with this, are you guys using Slack? Are you using what kind of technology are you using so people can really feel as connected as possible, even when separated by physical distance?
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Allie the Agent and The Shelby Show.
Yeah, definitely. So we use Zoom for our weekly calls, and then we use Circle for our private community on the back end. And we're having people again we've got over 200 video testimonials within the first 2 months of launching it, of people saying that it's changed their business and their life already. And the community's one of their favorite parts. And so, yes, we're virtual, but again, as kind of teased, we've got our first live event scheduled for next year. And I can tell you from experience that when people see the speaker list, it's like nothing that's ever been done in the industry ever. The list of people at this event is going to drop jaws across the company, across the industry. It's insane. And the production of what's going to happen has also never been done in the industry. So we're really looking to kind of sidestep and break barriers of people saying, oh, you're at this brokerage and I'm over here. We're both cloud based. We're competing. No, not here. Oh, you're at this downline. I'm at that downline. We can't collaborate. No, not here. And so we're really looking at how can we disrupt what everybody else is getting consumed with.
Before we jump to the next topic, where can people find out more about that now?
Yeah, definitely. It'll always be in the link in the description of my Instagram, or, probably somewhere on my YouTube channel, but we do a quarterly event virtually, every 3-day event every quarter. And then after that, we only open enrollment for 3 days. Once enrollment closes, it doesn't matter if you message us 1 minute later, it's cut off. And we have really high standards for ourselves. So for those that are committed, there's opportunities. For those that like to dabble, please don't join.
Yeah. How much is it?
147 a month, or you can
Okay.
pay for the full year for 1,500.
Okay. Awesome. Sweet. What I want to do is continue working backward from where you are now back to where you were in the beginning. So I have also seen a lot of transition, and please correct me if I'm using the wrong, terms if you define it differently. You're incorporating a business partner, Louie, a lot more into it. Can I know the what's the theory on that? What are your plans?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important to be able to align with people that have the same mindset, but complementing skill sets. So, with me, I'm kind of recognizing my forte is more on the marketing, branding, and advertising side, but I'm not as good at, the systems, processes, time management, organization side. Well, with Louis and I, I'm, not married with no kids and I'm 30. and Louis married with kids at 40. And so not only do we bring two different perspectives based on where people might be at in their journey, but simultaneously, we have the exact same approach to business and life, even though we have two complementing skill sets and we fill in each other's voids. So that allows us to not step on each other's toes, but work in harmony together to bring more value to the agent body in the industry.
Taking a step back again, go rewinding back in history. When did you meet this? How would someone meet a business partner that you can trust and build something with? Because I know a lot of agents feel like they're lone wolves, they feel like they can't find someone that they trust, someone that really aligns with them, but also brings a different perspective, a different background. Where would someone even go to start building?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and there's a multitude of different ways that I can approach the answer to this. So the first is usually events, right? You go to different events, and it can be within real estate, it can be outside of real estate. Like even, I just paid 150,000 for next year to be one of Tony Robbins' platinum partners, where there's 400 people from my level up to billionaires in the group, and to be surrounded by next level people. I have no idea who I'm going to meet there, but I can almost guarantee that I'll meet some new people that could become business partners in some way, shape, or form. And so events, communities like Atlas, like any of these other communities that are available is one of the best ways because the people that sign up to them have the same mindset as you, right? So I always lean into communities as the first one, whether it be masterminds, coaching, events, whatever that looks like for you. The second aspect, and this is, the way that I've built a lot of my relationships and partnerships is just lead by example. Do the stuff that the people you want to align with would be doing, right? So why do I have so many people that are content creators becoming my best friends and my business partners? Because I put out a ton of content and I'm always growing. And who's attracted to that? Other people that either put out content or want to. So I think leading by example is one of the best ways that you can attract the right people through, the law of attraction. And then also putting yourself in the right rooms with other people that are like-minded will always lead you to that opportunity as well.
Now, heading toward YouTube specific and getting tactical, why did you first turn to YouTube? Because you, at the same time, I believe you were door knocking in person, until your knuckles bled from frostbite.
Yeah.
At what point did you turn to YouTube?
Yeah, so it was probably about, my first video was about 6 months in, and that was more just like a promo video. And then I started sharing strategy tutorial about 10 months in. And so my perspective was, okay, I was door knocking and I was doing well with it, but I knew that it didn't create leverage. My business was only growing the 3 hours a day that I was putting into my work. And what about all the other 12 hours a day or 24 hours a day that I was either working or just existing? And so I started looking at the fact that, well, when I was an engineer and I was at my job, I would be listening to Joshua Smith and all these other people while I was working and saying, well, if I listen to them, maybe as I start to prove the successes with Facebook ads and door knocking and Instagram, people might want to listen to me. So why not, understand the concept that I didn't know where real estate was going to take me. I just knew that if you built a personal brand and a strong one, you have a massive unfair competitive advantage no matter what you do or where you go. So I started looking at that long term play to say, hey, maybe real estate is it, maybe it's not it. But I know that if I started to build a brand and created leverage in my business, that it would put me in a position to thrive and to succeed no matter what I decided to do. So it was really just looking at, okay, here's all the things that I've seen success with and maybe you will too if you want to find out more, and I'll be able to give that to you. So it was really this creative outlet of being able to share what I've seen work to help other people, and then it's led into some pretty life-changing opportunities.
And now, what does your team look like when it comes to your digital, your marketing, the YouTube team? Can you talk to us about leverage that you have in place?
Yeah, definitely. So two completely different teams. So I've got my, marketing team and advertising team. So marketing is going to be on the free side, advertising is going to be on the paid side. So on the free side, I've got my virtual assistant, I've got a local assistant, and then I've got two video editors, one for short form, one for long form, and then my graphic designer. So that's kind of the ecosystem when it comes to creating content that is organic. Now, on the paid side, I spend over $1 million a year on paid ads, and I've got a full separate team on the back end that is basically like a growth partner with me. And without going into too many layers, essentially they build out a team for you. So I've got my own copywriters that understand my tonality. I've got my own ad managers for different platforms to be omnipresent, funnel designers, like absolutely everything you could ever need to build a digital footprint.
How did you get there? I know that's a
Yeah.
huge question, but obviously it's I wanna know which one did you start with first, so you're making YouTube videos, you're posting it on your own in the very beginning, I presume, and then at some point you're like, "You know what? I can't do this." What was your I'm assuming, you hired an editor first. What after that, what did it look like when it came to adding on another teammate?
Yeah, definitely. So, like in the beginning, I did what most people do is I did it all myself. So 3 videos a week, editing myself, Canva, the whole 9 yards, because I couldn't afford to do anything else. And then the first thing that I started doing is outsourcing my thumbnails on Fiverr. And I still edited them myself, but I knew that the thumbnail was the most important part. So I outsourced that. And then as I started to build momentum, around that time is when I started to break 1,000 subscribers and I was able to get monetized. And what I did, and I still do to this day, is I look at the income that I make from YouTube as a cost or an opportunity to pay my team. So as my income goes up, I pay more to my team or I put out more content. So it was first kind of graphic designer, and then I did a video editor. The video editor didn't last long. And this is where a lot of people go, kind of fall victim to is, well, it's not the quality that I want. It doesn't look like how I want, or I've got all these revisions. And so what I did, kind of just taking that entrepreneurial journey, is I said, well, I can't find on Google the right editing service that will edit my videos, do the thumbnails the way I want to, repurpose them and do everything. So I created high converting content, my branding agency that now does that for realtors, and said, if I can't find it, I'm just going to build it. And that's what we did. And so these guys are, absolutely incredible, but it's pretty crazy. Like my two video editors didn't know each other before we hired both of them, and now they live together in one studio in Malaysia. So when they're doing my content, the long form guy just looks over and passes the short form guy all my clips, and there we go. So it's one of those things that now there's services out there that can do it for you. But in the beginning, I genuinely just had to say, I can't find that service because this is back in like 2018. I'm just going to make the service. And I, found my local business partner here, and that's history.
You said thumbnails are the most important part. And on the Agent Goldmine, we love to do a deep dive. If you're open to it, Mike, can we deep dive your lessons learned on thumbnails, like brain dump, what your first thoughts are? And then of course, we both have your YouTube channel pulled up. We could talk through it hyper tactically if you're open to that.
Yeah, happy to do anything. When you look at thumbnails, again, like a lot of people think editing is the most important part. And what you'll find is you'll see people, and realtors are notorious for this. They'll get their, beautiful local video crew to come film insane footage, and then they will get them to edit it, and it looks like a Netflix production. But nobody clicks on it and nobody watches it. And so when you start looking at this, you have to look at consumer behavior. People are much more likely to click on a video and stay if the editing is at least subpar, but they're now on the video, versus a great video that nobody clicks on because the thumbnail's trash and they're never going to see the incredible content that's there. So priority number one has to always be the thumbnail, because it's that leading indicator of the decision people make, right? Because when people are deciding whether to click on a video, they don't know what the editing looks like in any way, shape, or form. All they can see is the title and the thumbnail. So those have to be where your effort goes first in order to get people to click on it. Because you can very easily over time, you look at some of the most simple videos out there and they get insane views because you can compensate for crazy editing with value, with entertainment, with jokes. You can compensate in other ways. There's no way you can compensate for bad graphic design. So you have to start looking at that consumer behavior and how you can play to that tune.
Something unrelated, I don't know if Shelby has a follow-up question on thumbnails, I think she will, but, unrelated before I forget, as you're making videos, or as agents are making videos, I feel like sometimes they overcompensate with personality energy, and it's different from when they meet clients in person. You know, clients are seeing these videos, are like, "Oh my gosh, this person's so bubbly," or "This person is so nervous," and the opposite takes place in person. What would you say to that? What advice would you give to the agent that's not authentic or really being themselves on camera?
Yeah, it's a very easy thing to say. It's a different thing to do because I fell victim to that. If you go back and filter my videos by oldest, which you can do easily on my channel, if you watch them, like that personality is not me. It's one of those things where I thought you had to have a different energy. I thought you had to be over the top. Like I thought all of that. But then when I was rewatching all of my videos in the first year, I started realizing, well, that's not the real me. And I really didn't want that disconnect because people are expecting to, establish that know and trust factor and for there to be complete synchronization between that person on camera and who you are in person. And I didn't even recognize myself. So I started just saying, hey, like for better or worse, I'm going to be genuinely myself, which means the right people are going to align with me. Right. Because if you put on some different show on camera to attract a certain type of person or to be perceived in a certain type of way, well, you're going to start attracting all the wrong people that liked that and might not like you. And that's where you start dealing with nightmare clients and retention issues. And, it starts to become stressful and overwhelming. Whereas if you're just genuinely yourself, not only is it going to be way easier to be consistent to put out content, but you're going to meet the right people that appreciate you for you. And when I started to be a lot more genuine and authentic, that's the year in my first year, I went from 0 to 167 subscribers when I was trying to be this personality on camera. And then when I started being myself, I went from 167 to 3,000 in the next year, then 3,000 to 20,000, and so on and so forth. So that pivotal year was all due to me just being much more relatable to the average person that was consuming my content.
And stealing it back to thumbnails. So sorry, a little bit of a whiplash for you here, Mike, keeping you on your toes. Okay, with the thumbnails, the I have a whole list of, questions, considerations between the colors, like other people's faces versus your own face, like emojis, words, not words. And so I think to make it simplest, what are the biggest mistakes that you see other people making, or maybe that you've made on the thumbnail?
Yeah, the only mistake is overcomplicating it slash being biased. And so this is a concept that I always talk about is once you can become unbiased, you're going to be able to find your own answers. So when you start looking at this, the simple way to gauge whether a thumbnail is good is let's say you're looking at moving to Phoenix. Well, take the thumbnail that you have designed and then go type into YouTube, moving to Phoenix, and place your thumbnail beside the top 3 that are currently ranking and say, is mine better than number 1? Is it better than number 2? And would I click on it versus number 3? And if the answer is yes to all 3 of those, doesn't matter what it looks like, it's more engaging, right? So it's really, really simple. Like people are overcomplicating it. If the emojis make it positively stand out, then put them. If the others have emojis, then don't put them. Like it's really, really simple in nature. I think the only mistakes that people can make, or best practices, if you will, is make sure your face is the one in it because this is about building your brand. And then the other thing is make sure that the text is big, bold, and legible, knowing that the average person is watching on mobile, not desktop. And lastly, is making sure that the text is different than the title. Because if the two texts are the same, it doesn't pique curiosity. People are going to see it as one of many other videos. But the essence of thumbnails is just making it stand out. And doing that litmus test is based on the topic of your video. Does it stand out amongst the top 3 or 5 that are currently ranking? If yes, post it. If not, get back to the drawing board. It's very, very simple in nature.
You did simplify that very much, but I still have one more question. The the text on it. So I've played around a lot, with my own testing of thumbnails. Not as much as you, obviously, not even close. But of course you have the title and then finding that either text to contrast it enough to make someone interested. Am I overthinking this, or do you have any
Yeah.
strategy behind the title versus the text in the actual thumbnail? Any thoughts? Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that. Am I overthinking this, or do you have any
Yeah.
strategy behind the title versus the text in the actual thumbnail? Any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the easiest ways to get around this is based on the time that we're now in, there's basically somebody in some market that's different than yours that has excelled at YouTube and has done the work for you. So if you go to some other channel, living in whatever, moving to whatever, and they're, based on being in the industry, that they're closing multiple deals a month from their content, well, just look at what they're doing in their thumbnails and say, I'm going to do the same in my market. I always look at the fact that there's always somebody that's proven what you're looking to do at the highest level, and they're not in your market. So just go do what they're doing in your market. So that's the easiest way to not overcomplicate it for people is go to any of the channels that you like on YouTube, filter by most popular, and say, I'm going to go do all of these and I'm going to put a spin off every one of their thumbnails, but I'm going to be in the image. So I think it's one of those things that over time, you'll always find your groove. You'll always find what works. But in the beginning, just mimic and model what's already been proven to work.
And I know that you give this out a lot. You gave it out at EXPCon and you give this out in other areas too. It's the top videos, the titles of the videos to make. Because when people are first starting out on video, they're like, what the heck do I even do? What do I talk about? I don't know what to say. Would you be so kind as to share that with us?
Yeah, of course. I'll give it to anybody that's listening to this point as a thank you for plugging into your guys' incredible content. But feel free to give it away. It's I built that as a resource to help people, and this is the unfortunate realities. You see other people that are at our brokerage, at other brokerages that are now taking that list, copying it verbatim, and selling it to other agents. And my mentality is how can I just always over deliver compared to the norm and give people at least the next step in their business to take action today and remove excuses without complicating it. So by all means, yes, I've got a PDF of that and I can share it with you so that you can give it for free to anybody that consumes this video.
Sweet. Thank you so much. And we'll share that. We'll add that to our Agent Goldmine audience. You can find that for free at theagentgoldmine.com, courtesy of Mike Sherrard. Going Continuing with YouTube videos, I want to talk a little bit about equipment, lighting for those that, starting out. You know what? Let's use me as an example. I'm struggling with this lighting over here. What I know you can't see my entire room. What would you suggest? I need help, Mike.
Yeah, it's it's always an interesting conversation because even me right now, like everybody thinks, oh, you put out so much content, it looks decent. Like I'm building up my dream studio. It'll be done by the end of this week in the basement of my new house. But like for the last 3 months, I've been in this front room office with literally natural lighting on this side, a $30 ring light on this side. And that's how me at my level have been doing my videos for the last 3 months. Right. And I think it's one of those things that my views haven't gone down. My subscribers have gone up. Everything is rocking and rolling and my business is growing, right? And so I I like to have fun with it. As I'm building out my new studio, it's kind of one of those kind of just clarity moments where I can put some tunes on, hang out and just test different things. Like for me, it's fun to just try. And dim lighting, light lighting, like it doesn't matter because you have to do what feels right for you ultimately. But I think the best question is for people that are getting started, like natural lighting. That's literally what I'm using right now is the windows on this side and a $30 ring light on this side. And anybody can afford that, right? And so again, going back to that concept of not overcomplicating it, just doing whatever it takes to take action. Do I get excited to record my videos from this room? Absolutely not. But do I do it every single day? Of course, because that's what it takes to be consistent, right? So I always encourage people just to find something that you can look at and say, I like to look at that. And if you do, then keep going.
Allie and I over here just like overcomplicating everything. You probably get that a lot. But
Yeah.
Mike, I want to know about your personal life. Like, I want to know your a day in the life, your sleep habits, your food, what's important to you. Are you like tracking things? Are you like taking supplements? Just come on, tell me about Mike.
Yeah, definitely. So, it's pretty simple life, you know? And so the reality is I wake up at 4 every day. I go to the gym by 5, back by 7. I, have my shower, do my thing and start getting cracking, rocking and rolling around 7:30, 8 a.m. And I sit here for 12 hours and I do calls every day, 7 days a week, and then I repeat. And so, because I sit so much, I've got like a Peloton treadmill in my basement. So I will do a second 45-minute stint of just like incline walking or cardio, just to move or stretch or do abs or whatever. And that is my day. I take Saturdays to record, Sunday afternoons, evenings with my parents that live down the street. But otherwise, like, I keep everything simple. I have a protein shake in the morning. I have a ground turkey or chicken salad in the late morning. I have the same thing for dinner and then another protein shake before bed. So the same thing twice every day. And people think they see, my $3 million lake house or my Lamborghini or whatever and think that I'm just like out here doing all this fun. The truth is, I sit here for my average Zoom time per day is 11.7 hours. So think about how much I'm sitting here pouring into the industry, to other people. Like, it's not this lavish life people think. I'm out here to build an empire and to create impact.
Dude, that's crazy. And you're kind of like a robot, but I love it. Robot life. Okay, question. When you are doing those Zooms for 12 hours, are you doing, because I was, looking at it says one-on-one Zooms you can book, so are those like potential people for, EXP, or are they your Atlas Alliance folks, or what are those Zooms?
Yeah, different days, different priorities. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, people are able to book into my calendar and talk about what it's like to partner with our group. Outside of those hours, I run different mastermind calls for different companies. I have different meetings with different business partners for different companies, strategy conversations on a weekly basis, doing my own work, creating new content, updating programs. Like, it just never ends. There's always something. And so, that's going to change a little bit. Like, I'm hiring a couple new people in the new year in January, an executive assistant and a COO. So I'm going to be removing myself from a lot of things, but it's one of those things that, in my opinion, like, you have to do the foundational work, make the sacrifices, and do your time to get to this level. And then to get to the next level, you just can't do it yourself. So next year is on track to be over 8 figures. And so I need to have the right people around me for that. So it's just this evolution, but I just don't make excuses for anything. So if work needs to get done, I'm going to do it. And so many other people are trying to outsource something when they're broke because they don't want to do anything. And I'm like, well, just do it yourself. I did for the first 3 years. So again, I'm just all about no excuses, taking action and committing to the process.
I love hearing that. I mean, we're the same way, like the no excuse as soon as, especially like with our military background, like there's just no quibbling. You either got it done or you didn't, and who cares what the excuse was? You didn't do it. Uh, so mentors and people that you look up to, I at every different phase in the business as you've been progressing and building, I'm sure that you've looked up to one or a couple of different people. And then as you're pivoting or as you're going on to the next step, it's a new person. I would love to, if people come to mind or books or, anything, resources come to mind, who have you looked up to like back when you were starting out, growing a business, and who are you looking up to now?
Yeah, it's always a process, and it's, as you're saying, it's always ever changing. So in the beginning, I was looking up to people like Joshua Smith, still do, even though now he's one of my close friends. But there's always that element because I got started watching him in the beginning, and then as I started to build momentum, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, I met both of them in person multiple times, spent time with them. I'm not going to say anything about our event other than that might give you a hint as to some of the people involved.
Tiny clue.
But tiny clue. But that's been really good for different aspects, right? Like, you I think you have to be mindful of what you take from different people. And I think this is where a lot of people go wrong with role models is a lot of people look up to Andy Frisella and say, that's exactly what I want to be like. Well, it, the question is it actually what you want to be like? Because if you know behind the scenes of, not having kids, all these different other things, not going on vacations, no kind of balance in that, is that actually what you want? Or do you like the idea of it because of what you see on social? Right. So for him, from Andy, I take a lot of grit, mental fortitude, mental toughness, that type of stuff. From Ed, I take more the evolution of your business, the balancing of family, all of those different things. My coach over the course of this year was George Bryant, number one customer journey coach in the world. Well, I learned a whole slew of different things about environmental design and human design through him in order to operate on a different level. And then next year, being in the Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership, which is his highest offering that he has, there's a whole different aspect of that related to relationships and related to finance and all of these other things. So I'm always poking holes in my business on an annual basis, saying, where's 2024 taking me? Where's 2025 taking me? What's missing? What's lacking? And how can I surround myself with people that do it at the highest level?
Okay. Mike, last question before we head to our wrap up questions. I am curious about your headspace. So, and what I mean by that is clearly you are a
It's a
doer.
crazy space.
Yeah, right? It is a crazy space. And you're out there, you're doing it every single day. You're staying really structured and disciplined and clearly seeing results. But is there how much of a roller coaster with maybe it's doubt, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's imposter syndrome, like all of those little things that just ping up inside your head? Where are you at with that? How do you combat it? Little peek behind the veil.
Yeah, I've just learned to accept it because it's never gonna go away, right? Like when I launched my mastermind, the, Atlas Alliance, I had 90,000 subscribers of speaking on some of the biggest stages. I have a decently recognized brand. And going into the launch of that, I'm like, is anybody really gonna join? Does anybody actually really care? And then we over 3x our expectations based on the amount of people that joined. We have our next virtual event coming up in a month. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, does anybody care? Is anybody gonna, take action? Like it happens constantly. And I think if it doesn't happen to you, you're an egomaniac. Like you've lost your purpose. And I think that humility is what makes you relatable and allows people to connect with you because we all go on it. And also it's being humble enough to know two different things. Number one, you could lose it all tomorrow. So you have to be well aware of that. You never know what's going to happen in life. And number two, there's levels to this game. Like I see people at all brokerages that are, maybe making $1 million and they think they're something special. I'm like, listen, dude, I know people making literally 1 million a day. Like you haven't done anything. And I feel like I haven't done anything. I'm just getting started. Right. And I think it's falling in love with the process of just getting better at it. But, you know, in the beginning, I tried to fight it. Like I still feel with self-doubt, imposter syndrome every single day I open my eyes. And my business partner Louis does as well. And so do some of my coaches that make 9 figures a year. And it's just instead of fighting it, learning to accept it and use it as leverage in order to scale and lean into that as sort of a superpower. So it's one of those things that you're always going to deal with some of these mental struggles, but using it as a positive in order to keep you kind of grounded as you start to build momentum. Because, on the other side, like I know I'm going to do some crazy stuff over the next, 2, 3 years and beyond, but I still know that, we're just getting started.
I love that you said that because a lot of people might, they think that they can overcome it. Like at some point, you will stop with the imposter syndrome. You just have to do more, or, you know, I don't know, a lot of different schools of thought. And so thank you so much for your transparency.
Well,
Really,
it's
really
so
appreciate
important,
that.
right? And I see people at all brokerages again that, they on the front end, they come across with all this confidence and they would not have imposter syndrome. And my mentality is come to some of the rooms I've been in and that will change in a split second. Right? Because you have that confidence because you're in a room with a bunch of people making less than you. Come to some of my rooms where you're in the rooms with multi-billionaires and you make a year what they make a day. Now it's a different conversation. You will feel that imposter syndrome this before anybody even opens their mouths. The second you walk in the room, the energy feels different. right? So when I see people that are, feeling pretty good about themselves and like they're above other people, I'm like, dude, you checked out. You have no idea what this game is about. You're in the wrong rooms and you're gonna stay there forever.
I agree 100%. And Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot too. He's pretty much using that fear to continue driving you. It's always good to have that healthy level of fear, whether that fear is, you know, imposter syndrome or is nobody going to join my crew, anything like that. So, thank you. I want to head to the wrap up questions now. In your business or your personal life, what is your favorite app or tool?
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
Favorite app or tool? That's a really good one. I think for me, just based on the fact that I am so familiar with YouTube and I spend so much time on it, I love vidIQ. I think that's been one thing that kind of has allowed me to scale a lot quicker and something that, again, I think is very easy for people to apply in order to take action. So I'm, again, a very simple person and I don't use too many things to overcomplicate it, but that's one thing I use on a weekly basis that actually helps.
Perfect. Okay, what is something cool that you learned recently?
Something cool that I learned recently. That's an interesting one. I think a lot of what I've learned recently, and this is actually one that is absolutely insane. So, using ChatGPT when you're training the new GPTs that they recently rolled out that you have access to, you can actually download your lifetime data from your YouTube channel from the analytics section and post it into ChatGPT and get them to create you proven video topics based on your specific analytics, based on what got the highest click through rate, the highest watch time, because it's all based on the data of the lifetime of your channel. So you can just export the data and it will literally give you exactly the next videos you should be recording that are basically guaranteed to convert and work really well.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a YouTube
Yeah,
video on this? I need to watch it immediately.
it'll come.
Okay. Well, I'm subscribed, so I'll I'll be one of the first ones watching. That's super cool.
Yeah.
What events are you going to? Where can people find you in 2024?
So I guess those are two different conversations of the events I'm going to and where you can find me because some of them you can't come to. But so for example, there's the 3 Tony Robbins Platinum events that are only for the Platinum members. So the first one in Whistler in February, and they bring in all the biggest finance billionaires to basically talk to you about what the public's not privy to yet when it comes to capitalizing on the market. But I'll be at the 3 Platinum events next year. I'll be at EXP in October. And then the only other event that I'm committed to going to is going to be my event for Atlas Alliance, which will be information will be coming out in April about that. So I will just leave it at that. But those are going to be really less events for me. I'm now kind of more on the trajectory of doing my own thing and controlling the quality and the narrative. I don't like to go to events with a bunch of fluff and vanity and those people like you were alluding to that think they're, something special when they walk into the room when they're in the wrong room. So less is more. And I guess the only other event I'm speaking at Inman in New York in January.
Mike, how can listeners help you in your business? What actions would you like them to take?
Take action. That's the only thing I ever ask. The worst thing I see is people that and it's still humbling, people that will come up to me at these events and say, I've been following your channel for 3 years and I'm thinking of getting started. And then they'll come up to me at the next event. I've been following you for 4 years and I'm thinking about getting started. I'm like, dude, you're missing the whole point. The whole point is 4 years ago, you should have followed what you actually watched in the video and freaking start. Like the greatest gift I can ever receive from anybody in my ecosystem is to actually watch one of my videos and leave and apply it. And as long as because I've seen it change so many people's businesses and lives. I've got everything I could ever want. I'm really good when it comes to you know, that side of my life, but I just want other people to win, right? I don't put these videos out and, for fun always. It is fun and but there's times you don't want to do it, right? Half the time you don't want to do it, but the only thing that pushes me through is knowing that there's somebody on the other side of that that might actually take action and learn from that, and that could be the catalyst to change their business. So the only thing I ever ask is to do something with it.
You're a true inspiration, and I mean that, like, genuinely. I really I don't know. I love following you. For others that don't yet follow you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so my 2 most active ones are definitely Instagram and YouTube. We reply to every comment on YouTube. I personally, look at every DM on my Instagram and reply to anybody whenever I can. So those are the 2 kind of easiest ways to get in touch or to consume or whatever I'm kind of most active on, if you will. But yeah, I always, again, just try to lead by example and set the pace and show you what's possible when you start with nothing and you just keep going.
Is there anything that we didn't cover before we close it out?
I don't think it's anything that we didn't cover, but I think it's one takeaway that I urge people to think about. And both of you touched on it beautifully, which is the secret to success is to not overcomplicate it. And I think a lot of people are overcomplicating it. We had a mastermind call with our group the other day, and the entire truth is that I've never met a single agent in real estate that doesn't know what they need to do on a daily basis in order to succeed. Every single person knows what they need to do. You need to get clients, service clients, or nurture clients. And the way you get clients is either prospecting, content, network, or advertising. That's as simple as it gets. When you start looking at the difference between winners and losers, we all have choices. And I think this is where people are going wrong. And I'll tell you a quick exercise that I get people to do. And if you want to share this with your group on one of your mastermind calls, it'll blow people's minds. Um, but, if people are watching this right now, for the next hour, as soon as they leave this call, they have a choice to prospect or a choice to take a nap. They have a choice to record videos or they have a choice to watch Netflix. Like the only difference between me, you guys, and people that are struggling is how we choose to spend our time. Everything is a choice. None of us started with anything. We have no upper hand, but we choose to spend it differently. Right. So one of these excuses that I get all the time is people that are saying, well, Mike, I don't have time for content. I'm like, okay, do you have an iPhone? The answer is usually yes. Open up the settings section, click on screen time, and type the number in the chat of your daily screen time. I did this 2 days ago in our group. The average person had 5 hours a day on screen time.
What?
The average person across 200 people, 5 hours a day. You guys will be shocked if you go look at your own phones.
Oh,
It's
I'm doing it right
crazy.
after this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all of them are saying, I don't have time to learn my CRM. I don't have time to record content. I just found you the time you needed to learn all of that stuff. It's in your phone going down rabbit holes of freaking memes all day on social media. That's your answer. My screen time last week was 24 minutes a day, and I run my business on social. So, what I'm telling people is you don't need to get to 24 minutes a day, but you need to sure as get better than 5 hours. So, make a goal next week to get to 4.5, and maybe make a goal of next quarter to get to 3. And I think mine's a bit extreme because of how I operate, but I understand you need to have client calls, which might just be 20 minutes, or there's different things when you're still in production that you do need to be on your phone for. But make it a goal for 2024 to get down to an hour and a half, which is basically enough time for you to have calls, follow up, actually use it as a tool, not a toy, but not waste half of your day going down the rabbit hole when you should be learning how to use KV Core, Chime, whatever the heck else you want to use. Right. So I just don't buy people's excuses. And when people tell me that, I prove to them right then and there that that is the most BS excuse they could ever have. So stop complicating it. Do the stuff you know you need to be doing on a daily basis and go win. Because at the end of the day, the last thing I'll leave it with is that if you don't win, if you don't succeed, like it doesn't change my life at all. Right. People are always asking me, like, Mike, like when I join your group at EXP, what are your expectations of me? My expectations are nothing. I have zero expectations of you because I should not want your dreams for you more than you should want them for you and your family. So if you don't want to do the work, go fail. I don't care. It's not going to change my life, but it sure is going to change your and your family's life when you just gave up on your dreams, right? So do the things you know you need to do and you'll win. It's so simple. You just need to choose how you spend your time differently.
Perfectly said. Mike, thank you so, so much for, again, Mike Sherrard on all social media. If you haven't given us a follow, we're Allie the Agent. We're the Shelby Show on the gram. We're the Agent Goldmine on the gram. Hit us up with feedback and listeners, you have the choice to either, after this episode, to either share this show or not. So be a bro and share this show. Mike, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, so many questions. Oh, I love this though. So how do you
Starting out, you know what? Let's use me as an example. I'm struggling with this lighting over here. I forgot my question. What the heck was I going to ask? Oh,
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.